Welcome back to the Chasing Tone podcast. Of course, I'm Brian, and today we are going to talk about several different things. The first one is about being on stage with Brad Paisley and what that was like. Then we talk about my infatuation with 90s music, and then a new type of product coming to market that I'm thinking about putting out. So let's jump right into that.
Hey, Brian.
Blake, you'll never guess what I did. You'll never guess.
I'll never guess what you did?
Yes, unless you've been on my Facebook page. But
not today, so I will not guess what you did.
Okay. So imagine this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have a couple stories from last evening. But the first one is, imagine this. The let's say 15, 20,000 people staring at you in a spotlight.
Okay.
I got to experience what that's like last night. Really?
Mm-hmm. Is that because you had to, like, pick up somebody's pick they dropped for them or something? I'm just trying to imagine what the scenario is here.
No, I did not guitar tech for anyone last night.
Okay.
No.
All right. So if it's not that, then I can't fathom as to what just happened.
So I'm at a Brad Paisley show. Okay.
I knew you were doing that. Okay. Right.
Yep. And the last couple songs, you get to go there's like two bars set up, so 5 or 10. There's like 10 people at each bar, right?
Okay.
And it's it's the last couple songs. You're on stage, right next to the band,
mm-hmm.
and looking out into the spotlight, right?
Right.
Which is, and he does it at every show. So, there's like a bunch of people that get to do this. Not a bunch, but, there's, if you got friends, then you can do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a very cool thing to be able to, at least to me, it's a cool thing to, like, get there. And, because you're 3 feet away from Brad while he's sweating his solos out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So... the spot, like he's in front of you. The spotlight is right in your eyes. And I actually took a 360, 270 degree-ish picture on Facebook, put it on Facebook. So you can kind of, scroll and look around and that sort of thing and see what it looks like when you're standing on stage during the concert.
Right.
So it's a very cool experience. If you've never experienced that, you might want to check something like that out.
I haven't. So I'm missing some context here. You were standing on stage just to, like, stand there and kind of take it all in, or was he, like, having you do something?
No. We were just sitting at this bar that's there. Like he has 2 little bars on each side of the stage. The last couple songs, you can go up there and there's actual real beer. There's taps there that they're pouring beer for everyone there. So
I follow you now. That's kind of cool.
It's very fun. It's a very cool experience.
That's really interesting, and everyone on in the audience is like, "Well, look at those guys up there. That's the spot I want to be."
Where did you buy tickets for that?
Yeah, exactly. Could probably get a fair amount of monty for those tickets.
Yeah, you can't. I don't think you can buy those.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not.
But it does help knowing a few people on the inside.
Yeah, I could see
Brad.
that would be handy.
So yeah, that's a fun experience. That's the second time I've done that, and I like experiences. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like some people like to buy watches or gear. I like buying gear too, but more than that, I experience.
Hate it. It's my least favorite thing.
Me too, in the podcast.
Yep.
We're shutting down Chasing Tone because we've bought everything.
Yeah, there's nothing else out there.
So it's just the experience. Now, I will be honest, and I've got some videos of this too. So if I got to get approval, but I may actually put like a compilation of some videos of what it's like and put them on YouTube and Facebook and stuff.
Cool.
It's I love that experience of getting on. You're like I was right next to Gary Hooker, which is the other guitar player. Like literally, I could have reached out and turned his pedals off. And
Something tells me that wouldn't have been very.
At one
very
point,
accepted.
I actually acted like I was going to do that, and he gave me the look like, I don't think so.
I will stomp on your fingers right now.
So yeah, but it's really cool. Of course, they're all wearing in-ear monitors, right?
Right.
So you can hear the band really well when you're on stage. They didn't used to have a monitor up there, so it just wasn't what it was. All you could hear was the bounce back from the mains, where it'd bounce off the back wall and, back at you. Now they have like a little monitor on the bar, so you can actually hear the vocals and stuff too, so it's cool.
Oh, nice.
Still,
nice.
I'll be honest though, it still does not sound as good as it does out front.
Yeah,
So
that makes sense.
Yeah, but I mean, it's pretty cool sitting next to his guitar amp while he's doing it, That's pretty fun.
I would think so. I would definitely would think that.
And then
I'm a little bit jealous. I'm a little bit jealous. Not gonna lie.
That's fun.
Sounds
and
like
then
fun.
Then the second thing, and this is just me being an idiot, I guess. Mm-hmm. So I had a buddy that very, very talented guy, very talented, and I met him several years ago through another mutual friend. And he was just, he's just a young kid, great guitar player, great singer. And I was introduced as like, this is Chase. I don't think I'll say his last name because his stage name's different. But
okay.
And so I knew him as that guy, as Chase, blah blah blah. And this artist, his name's Chase Bryant, and he's in the country scene. He's one of the newer country guys that people probably call bro country, as we call it. Yeah, so you wouldn't like him.
No,
but I mean,
I might like him.
Yeah, I mean, like as a guy. Yeah. I mean, but like the act you probably wouldn't dig.
Right.
But like he's amazingly talented. Anyways, so I knew that Chase Bryant was going to be there, but so I get to the sound check and everything. And I'm like, hey, man, how you been? And he's like, good. I'm like, what are you doing here? And he's like, I'm playing.
Nice.
And I'm like, you are? I mean, like, because, keep in mind, like, I did not know that the Chase that I knew was the Chase Bryant.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Because, like, his onstage persona looks totally different. Totally. Radically different.
Oh, weird.
I mean, not in a marketing way. So like you and I look at things like marketing, like I totally get it because he's Chase Bryant, the guy that appeals to the chicks. You know what I mean? And he's got the slick back hair and the bro outfit and and he's very self-deprecating as well. So like he loves to make fun of himself about it too. He doesn't walk around with the chip on his shoulder like, yeah, I'm kind of a big deal,
So he was opening for Brad or something?
Yeah.
Oh,
yep.
Okay. And you didn't know that it was him opening for Brad?
I didn't know. I mean, I knew of the name, but I never, because the one I know, like, wears a baseball cap, and he's just a funny little talented guy. And I say little guy because I'm an old fart. But I mean,
he's a
like,
funny little guy.
I mean, because, like, to me, he was a young kid getting his start in Nashville, And so I'm like, what? Like, it totally blew my mind. I'm like, holy crap, how did I not ever notice that you were Chase like, you know what I mean? Like, my worlds were colliding. I'm like, but you're really talented. Like, I've heard you play before. You're fantastically amazing.
But you're really talented. Why would you do this? Oh, that's mean. Now I feel bad.
No, but I mean, it's... But I mean, he's really cool about it. Like, it's a marketing machine. You know what I mean? Music, mainstream music is a marketing machine.
Oh, 100%.
You know what I mean? So
it's almost all it is.
Yeah. So, and I have a different relationship with him because I knew him before. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And he was the guy in Nashville that was struggling to pay rent like everybody else.
Right.
And, just a super nice guy and very talented, like I said. And so I knew him from that perspective. So we just hung out several times during the day, and so I was picking his brain. I'm like, so how did this happen? Like, tell me what got you from where I knew you to now. And so like he kind of laid out his whole story, and it was an amazing story. And I don't know how much I can go into. I know I can go in part of it.
Okay.
But,
lay what you can down.
Yeah, but there's a bunch to it. The part I can go into is that he was at this point, and you hear about this point where people are like, I don't know, man, maybe this just is not going to happen.
Right.
And then bam, like everything happened at once, I mean, you go from 1 week thinking, how am I going to pay my bills next month, to the next week thinking, oh, so that's how I'm going to pay my bills.
I don't have any bills anymore.
Right. So, but I mean, and it really has made me think a lot since then. So, and here's what I've noticed about his story. He always was networking with the right people. He was always focused on the long game. Mm-hmm. So even though like he was going through many failures after I see many, not many, like MINI, like small failures.
Okay.
Time after time after like this wasn't working, that wasn't, like all these minor setbacks. He never let that once stop him. Mm-hmm. And actually, and another guy that I know that it's kind of the same thing, but he's more behind the scenes. He's a tech now, which is what he's always wanted to do. And we were kind of all talking about this. And I said, what is the thing that you have all these people in Nashville, they're all trying to make it. What's the thing that stops them? And both of them were like, patience.
They want it all right now.
Yeah. You got to have patience, and you always have to be networking with the right people. In other words, while all your buds are going out to a bar to get hammered, you're going out to a bar to see who's there and who you can sit down and hang out with and be friends with. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's a different mindset.
Totally.
And so I'm sitting there thinking like, and I remember this guy because there's a few people that I've saw them, and I'm like, and this is one of them where I'm like, he's just like, when you talk to him and just his persona, I'm like, he's got that thing that people look for. You know what I mean? Like if you're an A&R guy or you're in a record company and you're like looking for that magical characteristic of a person, he's just got that thing about him. Like when you're like when you're talking to like when you're talking to him, like he's just a knowledgeable, down to earth, approachable, smart person. And
it's the it factor,
and it is that it factor, and it just like the whole thing has really made me like rethink a lot of stuff. Like literally, like it seems like there's a lot of people who try to get to that level, and I think I'm going to go back on what I've said before, where you can do what you want to do if you put your mind to it. I don't think that's always true now.
I think that depends on what it is that you're wanting to do and what success in that field looks like to you. You know what I mean? Like
right.
I think you can do what you want to do, but you do have to have a kind of a I don't know what the word is, because this is a little bit different, or at least what I'm taking away from it is, I just use myself as an example, I guess. I thought I knew what I wanted to do, and it turns out it wasn't actually what I wanted to do. You know, if that makes any sense. I found new things that I like, and I realized that's going to be the way to go.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, I started out playing in the, on Broadway and on the bars in Nashville because I thought I wanted to be on the road, I thought I wanted to be in a band. Oddly enough, the entire band, except for the singer, she quit. But that's a different story. But everybody else in that band that I used to play with now plays on the road with all these people.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like there's Dirks Bentley. I mean, there's all these people I used to play in a band with. Now that's what they do. So,
Right.
Maybe had I stuck that out, maybe I would be doing that instead of slinging guitar pedals. I don't know.
But do you really? I mean, at this point in your life, would you want to be on the road?
No, and that's the thing. Looking back, I would have been miserable. Mm-hmm. In fact, I was telling Chase yesterday because we were just basically waiting for the show. We ended up not sound checking much, so we're just waiting for the show. And I told him, I said, "This is so boring. Like I could not do this every day, man. There's no way. It is so boring just sitting here waiting for the show to start." Mm-hmm. And a lot of that game is just waiting. Waiting for sound check, waiting for dinner, waiting for pre-show, and then after the show you go back, get cleaned up, and you might hang out for a little while, but you're waiting for the trucks to get packed so you can get down to the next show. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a good time.
I mean,
the one
I guess
the performance is cool.
Yeah,
like I'm sure amazingly cool, but all the rest of it sounds not for me.
Not glamorous.
That's not for me at all.
Yeah, and that's what I'm looking at. Like I wouldn't have wanted that. I would have been absolutely miserable if that worked out.
Mm-hmm. And you may not have even really known why.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I guess what I am getting at is I don't know. I think you can have success if you really try and grind things out. But at the same time, I think you have to be able to be open to pivoting on what your idea of making it looks like.
Right.
Because I've just seen people time and time again, like they think they know where they want to go, and they get there and they're like, well, this isn't anything like what I thought. I actually had more fun doing XYZ. Right. And I think you need to be, comfortable accepting that and realizing like, no, this is actually the thing I like. Nobody, I mean, it's not going to hurt. It's not going to hurt you to pivot. Being some people are afraid to pivot in business. Some people are afraid to pivot in careers. Like changing, your people are dynamic. People change constantly, and to be stuck in one thing always, if you're miserable, I mean, that doesn't make any sense. You don't have to be miserable.
Right. And that's why I'm coming out with my new product, my new line of products. It's cologne. It's cologne for guitar pedals.
Oh,
so
that's your new passion.
That's my new passion. So how you go to a smoky club and you bring your stuff home and it smells like old musty smoke and spilled beer, like that sort of thing.
It smells like the 1970s.
Yes, it does. And so what you need is pedal cologne or pedal perfume, if you prefer. And we're doing a complete new line of that. Mm-hmm.
Wampler pedal perfume.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I wish you the best of luck in all your endeavors. I really think you might need to do some market research on this one, though. I'm just putting it out there.
You know what? I found out that persistency is the key. I'm just going to be tenacious and persistent.
Right, and you're not afraid to pivot from what's working to this new endeavor.
I mean, at the Winter NAMM this past year in January, we came out with our line of hand sanitizers.
I did see that. I used some.
It's been fantastic. I've literally made tens of dollars on it. And,
I bet.
Oh,
dozens of dollars, even dozens.
I'm approaching dozens. Yeah,
literally dozens. Yeah.
So with that success, I'm going to piggyback and springboard off of that, and and do this new line of guitar perfume or pedal perfume.
Well, I do want to thank you for the Wampler hand sanitizer, because I successfully went to NAMM, Winter NAMM, and used some of that, and guess what? Just try to guess.
It cured the namthrax, didn't it?
I didn't get any namthrax at all. Whereas the year before I got namthraxed, I was sick for like 2 weeks, and I brought it home and like gave it to my whole family. It was ugly.
I remember that.
It was, and it was like the kind of sick where you feel really terrible and have no energy, and you're like coughing and stuff, but not bad enough that you can't not do anything.
Right, you're just miserable for like 3 weeks.
Yeah, I'm not so sick that I can't like function, but I'm almost so sick that I can't function. It was ugly, and I felt even worse giving it to my wife and my son. It was like, oh, I am hand sanitizing, because you were a big inspiration, because you were the only one that I talked to that year. Almost, there's a couple guys that avoided it, but you were the only one that didn't get sick that I knew well.
And I was the only one with half a gallon of sanitizer at the booth.
You were. And I learned a valuable lesson from that. Every guitar show I go to now, I'd have a little in my pocket. I play an instrument. I walk away. I give it a little squirt. And this is from a guy who doesn't use hand sanitizer ever, except in those contexts.
Well, and I'll be honest, I actually have slowed down my sanitation use. Sanitation. That's the wrong. No, I still try to be.
I'm less sanitary than I used to be.
Yeah, I just quit showering pretty much. No, so I've slowed down my liberal use of sanitizer in favor of hand washing. Before eating, and post bathroom breaks. I think that helps a lot. Yeah,
but
anyways,
you need some of that funk. Some of that funk's good for you.
That's what I hear. Yeah, that's what I hear. There's actually I've been schooled by some of our podcast listeners who've shown me the light and have explained why too much sanitizer use is bad.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you drop that piece of cheddar cheese on the floor. Sometimes you just need to pick it right up and eat it. Because that gets you that good gut bacteria.
As long as it's within 5 seconds.
Oh, whatever. I mean, as long as nothing's stuck to it, you're good. Don't worry about it.
Here in Indiana, we have what they call the 5-second rule. Do you guys have this out there?
I think that's a nationwide program.
It might be. I don't know if it's worldwide or not. It might be, what's the word I'm looking for? It might be a
strictly
thesis.
American thing.
Yeah, kind of an American thesis, like an opinion where only in America, for some reason, that 6 second makes something unusable.
Well, if you remember, Brian, President Nixon back in the 1970s rolled this out as a federal program to spread awareness to stop food waste. You remember that? Yeah.
I did not know that.
I didn't make that up. You can Google it.
Are you being serious?
No, I'm not being serious.
I was going to say, if that's true, that's fantastic.
I wish it was true, because, I mean, that would be wonderful if that was actually a thing that happened. But no.
So, okay, and another thing that happened this weekend, or this week actually, I'm going through a phase right now. I really am. I'm going through this phase.
Like a phaser.
No. Like a phase of life. I stumbled on a 90s playlist on Spotify.
Yeah, now you're talking my language.
I can't get off the damn thing. I just like every time in the car, like usually I'll throw in some Joe Rogan or something like that, right? Or some sort of podcast. Some Tone Mob podcast even sometimes, And no, I've been hitting up the Spotify on the 90s playlist.
Thank you.
I can't get enough, man. I mean, yeah. In fact, I woke up the other morning singing "State of Love and Trust," Pearl Jam.
Yep.
And my wife literally opens up one eye and says, "What in the hell are you singing?" Like, literally, like. The words are the strangest words ever, right?
They are pretty weird. They're pretty bizarre.
As many of Pearl Jam's stuff was, or is, depending on how you look at it. But so I'm like, it's a song. She's like, I've never heard that song. And I'm like, let me play it. Let me pull it up for you right now.
Nice. So what other gems are in that rotation? You getting yourself some Smashing Pumpkins? What do you got going on?
There's definitely pumpkins in there. There's songs that I have forgotten about completely. Let me see if I can pull it up here real quick. But yeah, there's definitely some pumpkins in there. There's Nirvana in there. There is Oasis in there. There is...
Anyway, here's Wonderwall.
Champagne Supernova.
I really don't like that song. I could never get into Oasis, but...
I mean, okay. I mean, you know what's weird about music to me? I think this is why... I told you I'm going through a phase. I'm going through this, and this is true. I'm literally going through this phase of reflection on my past. Mm-hmm. And, oops, let me turn... Oh, I got a text message from Brad Paisley's guitar tech. Anyways, so I'm going through this phase of reflection. I need a horn. No horn.
Name drop.
There you go. Perfect. Mm-hmm. I'm going through this phase of reflection where I'll hear these old songs, and I'm sure you do this too. I think everybody does. I think, and it instantly transports me back to this point in my life, and I start then remembering like all kinds of other details that I had just forgotten. You know,
100%.
And I'm like, I don't want to lose these memories, so I don't know. I'm thinking like, do I literally just make some videos where I'm discussing what happened purely for me and my kids, you know, or grandkids or great grandkids where, you know, 100 years from now, they can know everything they ever wanted to know about me.
Well, in my opinion, there's pros and cons to this, but for me, I'm just gonna say I'm gonna say like my dad did this. Let's just pretend, and okay. I'm gonna listen to it or watch it or whatever. I would almost prefer it to be audio, like telling a story.
You wouldn't want to see like the facial expressions of your great grandpa.
No, I would. I guess that's a moot point, because if you have the video and you just want the audio portion, you can then. But like I could see a super value in like if I was like, you know, just doing daily activities, like I've been building stuff lately and doing all this stuff, and I put my headphones in, listen to podcasts or whatever. I would have an enormous amount of get an enormous amount of, I don't know what you want to call it. Value is what we usually say, but I think it's deeper than that when we're talking about. Yeah,
right.
I would get a whole bunch of goodness if like I was listening to my grandpa tell stories,
right?
Versus like that would feel really good to me, and you know I'm biased because I'm a really audio guy, but I think you almost get something. It forces you to kind of describe things in a different way than a video, I guess. I don't know. I think a video would be valuable too.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, like you said, really both. You could do both. You know?
Yeah, you can. One doesn't negate the other, I guess.
But I guess, like this is a literal thing. I'm really thinking really hard. I mean, that's a terrible descriptor, but I'm thinking really hard on if this is something I should do for my great grandkids. You know, where like we've never had this opportunity before, and I'm looking at it like how I would love to hear, you know, my older relatives talk about how they came to America and the things that they were going through, the things that they were struggling through, what they learned about life, like all that kind of stuff, you know?
Well, yeah, and I guess I can just tell you, if you're wondering whether you should do it or not, I say you definitely should, because I can tell you I've been fortunate enough that my grandma was forward thinking enough to get the family together with my great grandma and kind of video her going through some like photo albums and stuff, and just talking about what she remembered from all that stuff. And it was, I can tell you I mean, I was there for that happening, but then going back and like watching some of that it seems kind of, at the time, not for me, but I'm sure to her, it seemed like, well, why do you want to know about all this? Like, why do you care about this stuff? You know, and I met your grandpa here and we did it's like, to me, it was fascinating. Mm-hmm. So I guess if you're wondering if your kids will like it or not, I think the answer is probably universally yes, and probably that's probably true for almost everyone. So.
Right. I mean, I just, like I said, it's just been I've been a week or two of just serious reflection back on things. So I'm in this weird, serious mood here lately.
Serious mood.
Yeah, just even on levels of like, I don't want to talk about a taboo subject, but like religion, like really thinking like, what do I actually believe or not believe? You know, and I don't know. It's been a good ride. I think it's been something that I personally have needed to do.
I don't think it's a bad thing for anybody to reflect on stuff. Sometimes, I do this too. We distract ourselves with two yahoos talking on the internet in the form of podcasts or, right. Whatever. In this day and age, we're always kind of trying to engage with some form of content or entertainment or information. And there is something to be said for just kind of not.
Right.
Like almost every time I get in the car, I'm like, oh, I got to put this on, gotta fire this up. Okay, now I'm ready. But there's been a lot of trips lately that I just purposefully don't. And I just drive. And I am just, and I don't turn on any music, which, 10 years ago, me would have said, oh, I have to have something in the car.
Right. It would be so bored.
Yeah. But there's something to be said for just thinking. And just letting whatever comes to your head come into your head and just think.
Right.
And I think that's an exercise that I know I don't do enough, and I think probably happens less and less these days as we get more and more engaged with just all forms of media. And here I am saying that as a media producer. But I do think that it's valuable to just kind of think. I don't think we think enough these days. And I don't mean to say that people are stupid, but I mean like. I don't just get alone with my thoughts as often as my dad or my grandpa did.
Right. We're way too distracted, and this is going to be one of those old fart moments where I'm like, before the internet, we didn't do things that way, and that's not, I don't mean to be that guy. When I was your age, we didn't even have cell phones, let alone those fancy cell phones. I don't know who I'm channeling there, but
stereotypical 95-year-old guy.
Get off my lawn, you whippersnapper. But anyways, yeah, I mean, definitely is, and especially like there is. I mean, to kind of bring this back around to gear, there is so much information. I'm like waving my hands like you can see me, but you can't. There's so much information in the world about guitar pedals.
Oh, yeah. Tons.
And so, like me being a content creator, it's really hard to come up with new stuff. I'll just put that out there.
To talk about.
I struggle with it all the time. Every day, every time that I know that, I want to make some videos, but I'm not sure exactly what to talk about. Or we're doing a podcast, and I'm like, we've had this discussion. We've literally have talked about everything so far.
It feels that way. Once in a while, though, we get some things, and we're like, or some questions, and we're like, I guess I don't think we have talked about that before. But
right.
But it's different for me. Like, my show is a lot easier to do because it's like, tell me about yourself.
Yes.
I'm
almost jealous of that, because it's so much easier to get, not easier, but it's easier for content-wise to have someone, have like Dave Friedman, who you haven't talked to before, on your show, and now you can pick his brain, And then, last week you had whoever, Jamie from Earthquaker or whatever. So
I haven't had him yet, actually.
Oh, you got to get Jamie on there. He's done so much, man. Like literally, he's a cool guy that's done a lot of cool things in his life besides build guitar pedals. He'd be a good guest.
I do need to talk to him. But I had James Granuzzo from Main Ace Effects on. That's who it was.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Very nice.
We talked about acid etching. It was interesting. Anyway, but it is a lot easier. It's not easy if you don't interview. That is kind of a thing that you have to flex that muscle fairly regularly to keep okay at it. And I feel like I'm okay at it.
Right.
But it is like I don't have to do what we do every episode, which is talk for 25 minutes about what we're going to talk about.
Exactly.
I mean, and it's actually more than that. Like we'll message each other. What are we going to talk about this time? I don't know. Let me think. And like it takes a while, and that's why sometimes you get episodes like this.
Right. Right. Because I mean, it's, these are just thoughts I had. And if you're still listening now, then these are thoughts that you've had as well, and you're still listening.
Well,
if not, then
something.
You turned this off a long time ago.
Yeah. And I think we talked about this last time. But we horse around a lot with, talking about just that. Like, oh, if it's not guitar related, you probably turned it off. And there's a handful of people that we have had message us or review or whatever to say that this isn't, they don't stay on topic. They get into this, that, and the other thing. And we'll usually point those out.
Right.
What we don't usually point out is that we get a lot more feedback. For me, it's usually in person, but sometimes it's through a message. They're like, those are the best episodes. Mm-hmm. And I know when I was listening to Chasing Tone, years back when it was you, Max, and Travis, those were my favorite episodes as well. So
those were the funnest ones, honestly.
I mean, I hope that the majority of people are okay with the randomness that is, because I guess if you're not, you're not listening to me say this right now. I'm sure
Right.
you're not. But
Right.
So I guess what I'm trying to get at is we're not discounting everyone who does like it. It's just easier. It's always easier to point out the negatives than the positives. That's how human brains tend to be wired for some reason.
Agreed.
I don't know why.
You've solved today's problems, Blake.
I absolutely don't think I did at all.
No, you did. You did. Job well done.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess call up the president. Tell him I fixed it. Don't worry.
I'm not calling that guy because that's a whole nother discussion and podcast. Don't get me started on politics now.
So one quick thing. We've gone for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I have talked about this at length. Or not at length, but off and on. We've talked about the platform Anchor on occasion.
Yes,
and
some exciting things happen.
Yeah, it sounds really cool. And what Brian and I have been struggling with is how we should use it. So I don't know if you guys have looked into it. It's kind of this... How would you describe it? It's almost like modernizing talk radio to some degree.
Yeah,
it's like a podcast, but not totally.
It's like it's like another podcast app, except you have the ability to call in and say, Blake, Brian, whatever. Here's my question: if you're running through a '68, Fender Deluxe, you got a '52 Telecaster, what pedal would you use to get Billy Corgan tone or whatever?
Right.
And then we can that will play over the podcast, and we can answer those questions. Mm-hmm. So
and there's messages and all kinds of other crazy things you can do. I haven't dug into it enough, but the question, or I guess the point in bringing it up was, would you guys be interested in that? We've talked about slanting it more business related, so we can get some of that off of this show,
right?
Because we always have to fight going into that
business
talk.
mode.
Yeah, because we just really I mean. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you and I just really enjoy exploring that subject because it's very wide-ranging.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, that's I've said this before. I've always been kind of an entrepreneurial type of guy, So whether it's I was slinging pedals trying to make a living on Broadway,
Right.
Most players there aren't building pedals for other players. They're focusing on playing guitar.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just, I enjoy that stuff. I don't know. It's another hobby of mine. I enjoy selling stuff on the Bay, and I'm selling things on Amazon now too. Completely not guitar related even. So, yeah, like that's just another little hobby of mine that I enjoy. So anyways, I guess to kind of wrap this up, we really want to hear your thoughts out there, audience. Like, so the app is called Anchor, Anchor, I believe. Check it out. See what you guys think. I think there's like one guitar, and it's a guitar lesson type of podcast on there right now. There's not a whole lot there yet as far as guitar stuff. Yeah. There's a lot of other people doing things on there, all kinds of different things. And in fact, it allows you yourself, as a member of the audience, to just use your phone and create a podcast yourself. So potentially, like, this could really make 1 million more podcasts available to people.
Exactly.
Which is a good and bad thing, you know?
Yeah. I mean, anyway.
Because you may have to wade through some that are kind of bad, you know?
Well, that's not really any different than the state of podcasting right now.
Well, that's true. But I mean, for the most part, I mean, we who have podcasts, I guess, generally there's enough episodes out there that you'll somewhere in there, you'll find something you like, you know? You're not going to like everyone. Just like I don't like every podcast. I don't listen to every podcast that comes up in my feed, you know?
No, I would never do anything else if that was the case.
Yeah. So, but I'm really curious to hear what what our audience's thoughts are if we should take that route and not move things, but start on Anchor with a little bit more personalized content.
Yeah, and my question to piggyback off of that would be, what angle do you guys want us to take? Because it doesn't make any sense for us to just do this.
The exact same thing.
Yeah, that's just a waste of everyone's time, and it gets confusing on what's where. And so I think it does need to be a different angle. Do you want us to focus like more heavily on gear? Do you want us to focus on our thoughts on business and all that, which is what I would rather do? Or what do you guys think? Just let us know, and we'll try our best to make it happen.
Or do you want to hear Blake and Brian argue about spirituality and religion?
I'm not doing that
politics.
Podcast. I'm not doing that podcast. No. I see enough arguments about that to last me my lifetime. I'm done with. And then we'll
write a book called "How to Make 50% of Your Audience Hate You." Oh, that's great. That's fantastic. All right, so I think that's all I got for today, man.
Me too. I think that puts a little bow on it. So I'll talk to you.
I appreciate
talk to you for 10 minutes after we stop recording, and then I'll talk to you next week.
All right. Later, dudes.
Bye.
And thanks so much for listening to the Chasing Tone podcast. I really appreciate it. If you have any comments or questions, you can email podcast@wamplerpedals.com, and that reaches me. Or you can email Blake at info@tonemob.com, and that reaches him. And again, we'd love to hear your thoughts on the new Anchor app, the new podcasting Anchor app. So please, if you get a minute, shoot us an email, let us know what you think. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.